why I'm depressed. I guess my childhood was fine, I don't remember much of it. You know, it's actually not just mentally but also physically dangerous to not deal with that stuff. Welcome. Can trauma cause cancer? It's becoming quite clear that there's a link between emotional stress and physical ailments. However, it's not clear to everyone how that actually works. So in this video I'm going to quickly try to make that really clear. So first of all, the brain doesn't know the difference between physical pain and emotional pain. Right? So that means that if you get in a car accident and you become traumatized physically and the pain is too big for your system to integrate, then you will probably have memory loss after that car accident. Or if something else happens to you physically that is just so painful that it's too much, then you won't remember it. So in the same way, when something happens to you that is emotionally too painful, you won't remember it. And that's actually a good thing, because if you get, God forbid, raped or abused in some way in your childhood, for example, by a family member or whatever it may be, maybe it's not like a physical direct abuse, but it's more like lack of attention chronically, lack of love chronically, anything like that could accumulate into something that is too painful for a child to actually realize. And why is that? Well, you know, if a child doesn't get attention for one day, it's not that bad, but if he doesn't get attention all the time, then at some point he's going to have to realize, I'm never going to get the attention that I need in order to develop myself, in order to grow up. And basically what that means is my parents just don't love me enough and they will never be there for me in the way that I need. And that realization is incredibly emotionally painful, and that's something that the child will never be consciously aware of. Both the emotional pain that is too devastating to be able to cope with and the physical pain that is too devastating to be able to cope with causes memory loss. What that actually means is that even though you do remember it at some level, your system remembers, your consciousness doesn't remember. So at the level that you were thinking, you can't recall it consciously, basically. You don't know that it happened to you, or you don't know what it was like, or you know the event but not what it felt like, and they remember some things that happened to them that probably weren't so nice, but they think, well, it's fine, I don't really remember any pain from that. Yeah, that's because the outward effect is memory loss, but what it actually means is the memory is still there, but it's been shut off, it's been gated. And so this is being done by the repressive system. So I want to introduce the concept of the repression system. This is the system in your body. It's comprised of several functions, but what it is responsible for is to shield your consciousness, your active awareness, from pain that is too hard to deal with and would actually be dangerous to deal with. So this could be physical pain or emotional pain. And that's actually good, because too much pain is dangerous. Like, it can actually, too much pain can cause your psyche to disintegrate, it can cause you to go crazy, or it can actually cause death. So this is not a joke. It's not like you shouldn't have had this impact of this particular pain being blocked out. No, you should have had it blocked out, because if you hadn't had it blocked out, you could have died. It could have been really dangerous. So it's there for a reason, but what this is, it means that now it becomes a trauma. A trauma is when pain was too big to feel and then it gets blocked. Very simply put, that's what a trauma is. And when it gets blocked, it means that it's still there, but you can't access it. Therefore, it is stuck. So when a pain is stuck, it's still bothering you. It's still causing mayhem in the body and in the psyche, but you're not aware of it. There's gates in the brain that are able to block different levels of consciousness from each other. And I'll quickly draw for you how that works. So I've talked about the different levels of the human psyche before. Very simply, it's thinking, feeling, sensing. And thinking is pretty obvious. It's your conscious awareness and what you think and what you believe and what basically everything that goes on. The stories that you have in your head and the voices that you have in your head, and that is called the third line, or That's basically the thinking level. Then below that there's the feeling level. And by feeling, I mean emotional feeling. So here's where all the anger and the sadness and the joy and the love and the feelings, the emotional feelings live. Deeper than that, though, is the reptile brain. Reptiles famously don't have emotions, but they can feel physical things, they can sense. All the sensations that come with having a body, internal, digestive tract, lungs, heart, etc., and also external, just like maintaining the status of everything that happens inside the body, inside the physical, and therefore it can have states such as terror and fight or flight, but this is as deep as it goes. And this level also develops a lot earlier than the feeling system develops. The feeling system only starts to mature as a child is 5 to 6 months old. That's when it starts to develop simple emotions. Before that, it's only pain or no pain, in deadly trouble or not in deadly trouble, fight or flight, terror, or we're good. It's very, very simplistic, and that's what the reptile brain is responsible for. And that is the sensing system. So basically, we have 3 levels. It's thinking, feeling, and sensing. So what happens when a catastrophic impact is made on one of these levels that the other levels probably couldn't deal with? That's when the gates are activated. So if you have a car accident or someone tortures you or something really bad happens that causes a lot of physical pain, your sensing system might take the impact, take a lot of pain, and this would immediately activate the gates. So here I've illustrated that you would basically have an enormous pain at the sensing level, but when your system, your body recognizes this pain is going to be too big, this is a huge problem, we might self-destruct if we let this into our full awareness, then the gates will be activated. So basically the pain from the sensing level is trying to come up to be experienced, and if you would be able to experience it safely, then you would move through it and there would not be a trauma created. But because it's too much, your system detects we cannot move through this and we need to block this. And then the gates activate. So the gates are basically neurons that are constantly sending inhibitory signals and block the communication between these levels. So this is basically blocked. This means that your emotional system doesn't know what actually the big sensory pain was or has been. It starts when this pain is inflicted, but then it continues, and then your system is always working, constantly sending these like shushing signals basically. It's exhausting to do. And that's basically how you live your life from there on onwards until you basically do something like EMDR or another kind of therapy that deals with the trauma, like primal therapy or regression therapy or EMDR, anything that would basically address this level and dig out this pain, dig out this experience. Until you do that, you're blissfully unaware that there has ever been this level of pain, and these neurons are always firing these signals. Shut up, shut up, shut up. We don't want to know. So your emotions are not aware, and also your thinking is not aware of how painful that was. Now, when something happens that is emotionally very painful, same thing. So basically, say your parents divorce or something like that, and you're like 5 years old, you don't know how to deal with it, you feel very unsafe, like no one's going to take care of you, and you're basically on your own, and this is too much to deal with. This is, as this is happening, this is going to mess with your thinking too much. You would basically go nuts or die. So that means that the gates are activated. And also here on this level, the disconnection is then made between the thinking level and the feeling level, which means that this giant ball of pain of like I'm unsafe, my parents can't even take care of themselves or make a harmonious home for me because they're constantly fighting with each other and they're splitting up, I'm all alone, blah blah blah. It's too painful, the gates are activated, they're constantly shushing this pain and creating a disconnect between the thinking level and the feeling level. And this is how you get people that can say that they're fine and believe that they're fine, and emotionally they're absolutely not fine. They have a lot of tension in their body, for example, and they might be very jumpy and overreact to a lot of things and get easily triggered. But they think that they're fine, and they don't really know what they're feeling, so they think they're fine. But the reason that they don't know what they're feeling is because the gates are active. Okay, so that's one part of the repression system. Why am I telling you this? Because this takes a lot of energy. This takes a lot of energy. So one drawback, basically, is that it's just a stress on your body to constantly have these gates activated. You have to see this as like a huge electrical charge trying to discharge. And then to counteract that, the brain has to constantly fire signals at that. So it's costing you a lot of electrical energy, literally, to suppress that pain. But that's not all that the repression system does. So that's gates, but it also has endorphins. So endorphins are your internal painkillers. They're much stronger than you could actually externally take. So your endorphins that your body is able to produce, and these are the feel-good chemicals that you also feel when you might go for a run for like an hour, or you might go for a walk for like two or 3 hours. You feel this great endorphin rush. And this is the substance that your body produces that interacts with the opiate receptors. Does the same thing that heroin, morphine, other opiate drugs would do. It's a very potent internally produced painkiller. So it's a very potent internally produced painkiller. Great, and it's fine to enjoy that after you've had a run or you've had a walk or you've had some sort of exercise. That also helps to feel not completely broken after exercise. So what's wrong with that? There's gating, so I don't know that I've been hurt and I don't know that that pain is still there. Great, yeah, it costs a bit of energy, but you know, I've got energy, who cares? You might say. Well, actually, gates is not enough, because if you just have the gating, then you're not aware that you've been hurt. You're not aware that you have a physical or an emotional trauma, but your body still very much is in pain, even though you don't know what's going on. And therefore, you also need the endorphins. You also need the painkillers to be elevated constantly. These endorphin levels are chronically elevated, which would be great, and it allows you to go through life thinking nothing bad happened to you and you're fine. However, endorphins are proven to mess with the immune system. That is a problem. So endorphins impair the production of different cells that the immune system uses to break down malignant cells, detect diseases and whatnot. It impairs the production of certain immune system cells, and it also messes with their function. It confuses the immune system, literally. The immune system is very complex, and every day it's fighting cancer cells, it's cleaning up dirt, it's cleaning up old cells, and it's cleaning up garbage from your digestive system, and it's cleaning up cancer cells that you're basically producing every day. And if it stops cleaning up cancer cells, you get cancer. And if it gets confused about what things to fight, it might fight parts of your own body. And that's how you get autoimmune disorders. So, to recap, if you've got trauma, be it physical or emotional, that means at some point the pain level was so high that you couldn't deal with it and you had to block it out, and that pain is still with you. That pain, you're still carrying that pain, blissfully unaware that it was ever there. Then your body is working all the time to keep you blissfully unaware that it was ever there. And part of that work means raising the levels of endorphin in the blood, so that your level of feel-good chemicals has to be higher than a more mentally healthy person to feel normal. And with that chronically elevated endorphin level, the immune system is suppressed, and over time, after years and years, it starts working less and less well. It starts getting more and more confused. Eventually some cancer cells get undetected, or eventually the immune system starts getting confused about what's mine and not mine, and it starts fighting itself. This has also been very well described in the book When the Body Says No. That's basically why you get sick eventually after you suffer trauma. So yes, it is actually dangerous to not deal with your trauma. So whether it's trauma that you incurred in a singular event, or trauma that you basically have from childhood, from lacking certain types of care and love and attention from parents, you probably, if that's the case, you're probably not even aware of it. Or maybe you have some sort of vague memories that seem like, if you think about them, yeah, maybe a child wouldn't have liked that so much, but I don't remember it being very painful. And I don't understand why I'm having such neurotic thoughts or habits or weird tics all the time, or whatever it may be, or why I'm depressed. I don't know why I'm depressed. I guess my childhood was fine. I don't remember much of it. You know, it's actually not just mentally, but also physically dangerous to not deal with that stuff. Be it a car accident, a war, or an imperfect childhood that you don't remember parts from. If you don't deal with it, you risk your chance of getting cancer or autoimmune disorders. And this is why. So I hope that inspired you to take another look at your childhood, and if there's hints of things that you don't remember so well, or if you have other reasons to believe that you were a neurotic and you might have some childhood trauma, deal with it, because it also massively impacts your physical health. So thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button, send this video to someone who might need to see it, and see you in the next one. Bye.